Hey everyone, and welcome to the Best of 3 Call of Duty Esports podcast. I'm your host, Josh. SalvationsElite to my right is Bash_BO3, and to our farthest right, back online per usual, is Rex, Shady, Nero, and boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a lot to talk about today.
As always.
Finally, we got the announcement from the CDL on the first event, when it's actually going to go down, the launch event. We're talking about potential trades that can help both teams this season. Some guys that maybe we'll see on the trading block. Who knows with the new format and everything else. And we got some interesting debates today with a handful of different conversations that we're going to have. The NFL hype cycle and maybe ranking some players. I don't know. We're going to have to talk about that one too. But before we get to any of that, guys, I've got to ask, what's going on?
Well, Josh, I am feeling like a librarian on their first day of work. They've gotten all dressed up. They've got their nice little, their cute little skirt on and their glasses and their long and curly hair that's graying a little bit. And the first person just come to me to check out their first book. And I beep it with the scanner, beep, that satisfying sound. And it brightens my day. Seeing their smile on their face.
I'm not sure how the cute little skirt and then the graying hair.
I'm getting it's getting a little weird here. Sam, how you doing? Are you the one checking the book out?
I'm feeling on the wide side today, boys.
Oh, he's on the wide side.
I'm back to being wide.
Yes,
look at this.
The wide angle lenses, because we all know that was the whole reason why he looks skinny
20
in the first
pounds
place.
heavier, boys. I'm sorry.
That's right.
Yeah.
But we got a lot to talk about today.
We do.
And you can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and you can drop a comment on YouTube, and you can drop a review on Apple Podcasts. Someone drop a review on Apple Podcasts, please.
We are in a drought.
We're in a drought of reviews. This is now 2 in a row with no review.
Oof.
What? Folks.
I think, would we take a 4-star review for another review? No. Okay.
Are you kidding me?
Okay.
4-star review, you're banned. All right? It's over for you.
But not even read
we
it.
have a special announcement, a very special announcement today. First of all, before we get into anything else, we are launching the official Best of 3 podcast Twitter page. Oh, air horn. Wah, wah, wah. Oh my goodness. It's hype. So it's at the best. Oh, wait, what's that?
What?
Hold
on, folks.
I just made it. So I need to make sure it's at Best of 3 pod. Best of 3, the number 3 pod. And if you go follow, we're going to be doing a lot there. First of all, we're announcing a giveaway. What we're going to be giving away is official Season 2 CDL gear. The winner of the giveaway will walk away with some fire, whatever it is, which your hoodie of your choice or whatever it is.
It's going to be
from
Paris.
the store. I mean, obviously Paris.
Want that Paris gear, dude.
You want the Paris gear.
And we haven't seen what the designs are yet for that, but from what everyone's thinking, it's going to be pretty fire because their teams are able to do some of their own custom designs this year.
Thank you.
We've got a fire Twitter banner, so even if you don't even go for anything else, you got to go see the Twitter banner that we got.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Oh, yes.
I mean, that's all. That's the only reason why you got to go over there.
Yes.
And we're going to be doing some Q&As over there as well for next week on the podcast. So we're going to be doing a full-on Q&A next week, and we're going to be taking only questions and answers. Maybe answers, I don't know, from the Twitter, replying to that Twitter. So go follow it. And to win the giveaway, you have to be following me, Sam, Rex, and the podcast. So at SalvationsElite, at Bash_BO3, and at Shady Nero. And then, of course, again, at Best of 3, the number 3, pod on Twitter. And that's where you'll find it. So with that said, we got a lot to get into today. And our quick question of the day, kind of interesting one, is which pro will be most likely to next retire?
Yeah.
Who and when? Would it be this year? Does anyone have an answer off the top of their head?
Well, Scump has talked about retiring, but I don't think he will unless his team does poorly.
And then it's Modern Warfare Remastered or Modern Warfare 2020 V2.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll stop there. I'll let somebody else go.
Okay, interesting.
You know, I've been kind of wondering about apathy.
Whoa. Oh, wow. That's a good one.
You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah.
My thoughts on apathy are he won the last 4v4 COD. He won champs. So maybe he gives it his all this year.
That's a good one.
And then maybe if it doesn't turn out kind of like it did last year, he may be retiring. That's my guess.
And he's got the YouTube channel. Like
he does.
You know, he has some notoriety in the scene. I could see that one. That's actually a really good option.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you have another one, Rex?
Clayster, unfortunately.
Oh, that hurts your soul.
It does hurt I don't want to say it, but I mean,
man, he's gonna grind this thing out.
Here's the thing: if he's from what I've heard
like
from
Adam
him, as long as he's like he stays like top 6 and he feels like good in the game, he'll keep playing.
Yeah.
But I will say, this New York team has got me on pins and needles a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel going into this. I really don't. And if this season doesn't go well for them, I could see him starting to bow out maybe.
Hoping for the best.
Hoping for the best, though. I really want him to keep succeeding.
I feel like he wants to at least hit 30. Like, he wants,
I mean, you
he
got
wants to be that 30-year-old.
Yeah,
you know?
I kind of agree. I mean, Slacked would be a pretty like potential option there, which is based off how his year could potentially go. So,
I mean, if he gets dropped
realistically,
again,
yeah, like that's a pretty realistic option. Looney is also a potential option, I think. Just depending on again how the season goes.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't expect Looney to retire or Slack to retire.
No.
But there are potential options for sure.
Yeah.
But alrighty, there you go. So with that said, I think we can hop into our news of the week.
No.
So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's go.
The Call of Duty News of the Week.
Yow, yow. All right, so obviously we got to lead with the headliner news today, which is finally the announcement of the start of the Call of Duty League in 2020. Again, last year, oh my word, last year, the start of the league was late. It was the end of January. We were like, man, this is so long. It's taking forever. And then we're sitting around this year like, where's the news? Like, if this is starting in January, like, where's this at? Again, in past CODs, we've been starting beginning of December. We had a first major events by the start of the second week of December. This time around, we're not starting till the middle of February. So what they announced is the two things. They announced basically a preseason launch kickoff classic. It's basically starting on the same weekend that the event started last year. It's like a 1-year anniversary is how they're advertising it. And then they also announced the first home series of the year, which again, if you guys don't remember the format, there's going to be 3 home series leading into every major event on the season. And so that's why they're labeled home series, but they're much different than last year at the end of the day. And so yeah, overall that's taking place. The kickoff event's taking place on January 23 and 24. And then the home series is on February 11th, starting and ends on the 14th. So we are basically T-minus 1 month out from the start of the CDL, basically. And just about 2 weeks out from this first event. So overall, if you guys want to, Sam, do you want to explain some of, I whacked your mic.
Yeah,
came at you.
My word.
Do you want to explain like kind of like the format of this like kickoff classic that they got going on here?
Okay, so as we know, it takes place the 23rd, 24th, and the top 3 teams.
Some weirdness.
I know. Top 3 teams from last year, which being Empire, FaZe, and now OpTic.
Yeah.
Formerly Huntsman.
Right.
I believe they've all already posted their polls of which team they're going to be playing.
I actually missed that.
Yes.
Maybe not. Yeah. So each one of those top 3 teams posted a poll, and basically they're asking their fans, who do you want us to see play? And there was 3 options for each team. And the options for those teams were Empire, you could choose between Subliners, Paris, or Ravens. For a FaZe, you could have chosen between Mutineers, Guerrillas, or Surge. And then Chicago, you could have chosen between LA Thieves, Rocker, and Ultra. And so I think there's obviously like, at least for Empire, excuse me, in Chicago, there was like one clear winner, like, Subliners.
For sure.
With Empire, you want to see Clayster face against his old teammates.
Yeah.
LA Thieves, you wanted to see, face off against Chicago, holding the former OpTic spot there. And then FaZe, really, probably Mutineers.
Check see FaZe is currently.
I would guess Mutineers would probably be
that would make the most sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, yeah. So it's a really weird format. Thoughts on the format overall for that kickoff event, how they're going to be doing it? Thoughts, Rex?
I mean, I think it's interesting. I think it's fun, and then I think the rest of it they're gonna do like some sort of show. Now, is this the one where the teams are gonna keep like the other teams are gonna play in it still? I believe.
Yes.
But there's just gonna be random, or is somebody gonna be picking for that?
I don't know. Probably randomly assigned.
The Charlie Intel last sentence was teams who don't win their poll will still compete at the Kickoff Classic.
Yeah.
So even if your favorite team doesn't finish first in their poll, you'll still see them in action. So every team will be playing here, which will be cool.
Yeah.
It is kind of weird, like having this kind of fan voted.
It's really weird.
It's very strange 2-day thing. Do we think it's going to be like two games per team?
Maybe
each team played twice. I don't know.
So update on the polls right now.
Yes.
Right now, OpTic is an 89.7% vote for LA Thieves.
Makes sense.
Shocker. Dallas Empire has an 82.9% vote for New York Subliners. Shocker. And Atlanta FaZe, which is this much more interesting. There's a 46.3% vote for Florida and a 40.2% vote for Seattle.
Really?
So
both those teams against Florida or FaZe, I'd just like to see both those teams play, to be honest.
That would be interesting to see Seattle kind of in action,
Right. It's just, I guess right now the Mutineers are definitely like the better team.
Yes.
So I think that's probably why they're winning the vote at this point. Shout out people who voted LAG.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Hey,
I respect that. But
get some love.
Overall, pretty weird.
I mean, do you think the teams are going to take this too seriously? Like, do you think they're going to be trying, like, obviously, like, try to win? Or, like, how do you think they'll use, like, maybe they'll break GAs? Kind of hope they do, like, completely, like, go only follow the rules and just play like that, just so we can see what it looks like.
I mean, at this point, we have no idea if there's any incentive for them to win this. Like, if there's any sort of small prize pool for this.
Yeah, could be.
Which I thought if you're the COD league, you'd want there to be like at least like 5,000 a player for the winning team.
Because then like if there's no prize pool,
a few thousand per player,
you can
1,000 per player.
You can totally see this becoming like where like everyone pulls out a snipe and starts doing 360 no scopes, and it's like, okay, well, what's the
like some like all-star weekend or something.
Exactly. So I don't know. I can see it going both ways, where like teams might try just to feel out the teams, but then I could also see it where they're not willing to, go try hard mode.
Why would you?
Yeah.
Right.
If there's no prize pool, why would you?
Because you're just giving away strats.
Exactly.
For the future of the CDL for the first important events, which doesn't really make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
I hope that I hope they break GAs and follow only Call of Duty rules and just try and win as best they can, only following those rules. So all the guns or whatever, not GA'd.
That's very on par for Red.
Because I just want to see what it looks like. We've never seen it. I just want to see it. That's all. I just want to see it.
I mean, like, my biggest thing is like, it's weird that they're letting the fans choose it, because it's like, it depends how the home series scheduling works and what teams play who with the home series scheduling. Because, like, if you're going to play against a team in the kickoff event that you're going to be playing in the next, like literally in the Atlanta home series that weekend, like 2 weeks later, that doesn't really make much sense.
No.
So my question is, have they made the schedule yet? Are they waiting to see who gets voted and then they make the schedule? Because like, you don't want FaZe to play Seattle in the kickoff event and then 2 weeks later FaZe plays Seattle again.
I know.
So that's weird that they even let it be fan voted.
No.
So, because I feel like they kind of know. That's just, must just be a marketing ploy. But I don't know. I mean, any other thoughts overall on the Kickoff Classic? I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm like excited. I mean, I'm down to see some COD finally.
No, yeah. That's probably the only reason why I'm like a little hyped. It's just to finally see some live, professional Call of Duty being played and then having the stream be up like that. That'd be sick. But
it's basically a low-key test run for him, right? Is it
probably
like servers,
probably
connection,
audio issues that we were plagued with last year. So hopefully
it's gotta be something like that.
They're probably like, hey, we cannot have what we had last year. Let's get just a random event. Call it the 1 year anniversary event.
Yeah.
Fan voted, and let's just test everything out.
Well, it's kind of a warm-up. Yeah. But Overwatch, they've done a similar thing like this. And the players and teams, like, they ended up kind of just trolling. But in Overwatch, it was more so like if they had a support player, the support player would play a tank. Like everyone switched roles that they didn't play in professional. So like still kind of remains somewhat interesting in that way. But like clearly it wasn't like top tier because these players don't play those roles.
Yeah.
But I don't know what you would do in COD other than, just break GAs.
Or the SMGs play man AR and you swap, and I could see that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm like a 3 or 4 hype level out of it. It's not going to be too crazy. Really, it's just a test run. So then going to the home series, again, like we said, there was a weird
sentence at
the end that we're not exactly sure how this plays out. So I want to read that one out.
Yeah, so here's what we are not quite sure what's going to happen. Per Charlie Ansel's article, it reads, during the Kickoff Classic, the CDL will feature a unique group selection draw show, which see a special snake draft format that will allow teams to select a team that will be placed in its next ranked opponent's group. So for instance, this means Dallas Empire will be able to select FaZe's first Group B opponent, and will continue down the order of teams based on their 2020 CDL positions. So what we don't know is this just for the Kickoff Classic?
Yeah.
Or is this what they are choosing their opponents for the Atlanta FaZe opening event?
Home series.
Which I think is what's happening there.
Which
because
it seems like it might be.
Which again would lean more to my whole thing that they haven't actually made the schedule yet because of this type of idea. So again, what we know is that the teams get split into groups for the home series, which we do know that. And then they play all their opponents there. So is Dallas Empire Group A and FaZe is Group B? And then they're just drafting each other?
Maybe. I don't know. Because
So Empire would choose Hunts or OpTic. Then FaZe would choose the Mutineers. Then Dallas would choose. It'd be like a power rankings between FaZe.
Honestly,
it'd be like a power rankings between FaZe and Dallas.
Who do you think is gonna? Yeah, they're like the next best opponent.
I mean, if that's the case, I'm down. I'm down to see what they have to say.
That's cool. So then, does this event then equal the Rockers opening event last year, where it wasn't technically a full-on home series?
See, but I think this is just starting
just starting the home series.
The home series is
yeah
that lead into the first major.
It just seems weird that those two. I don't know. See, it's just not clear wording.
Yeah, that's how I said. My initial instinct is that one is in Group A, the other one's in Group B, and then they're just drafting each other's opponents.
Yeah,
they're drafting each other's groups. Which, I mean, if that's the case, that's a pretty cool way to do it, honestly, and I'm down.
Honestly, I think that'll be interesting, at least for the first home series. Yeah.
Right.
I'm not opposed to it.
Because then it's basically the teams deciding what are the most fair groups you can actually create.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why not?
That'd be interesting. Yeah. But again, this could be totally different than I'm sure tomorrow it's going to come out with
they don't clarify it.
Tomorrow it's going to be this most clear cut video is going to be released and be this is exactly how it is. And then we're all
some confusion
idiots
on our wording for this. So here's an explanation that, more clear explanation.
Yeah, great. This whole segment was worthless. Hey, more lights.
Oh, there we go.
Perfect.
That's the aura we were missing. But yeah, so that's I mean, overall, I'm semi-interested. I mean, obviously, we're all excited for the kickoff.
Yes.
The real hype is going to be the first major home series, and that's the first major tournament.
All
and that's
teams.
where the hype is going to be, and we still don't have a date for that, which is really annoying. So they did say that we're going to get more information probably when the kickoff event happens at January 23rd about when the first actual tournament is.
Yes.
But we don't know yet.
Yeah.
And we don't specifically know yet if it goes home series, back to back weekends, then straight into a tournament, or if it's home series break, tournament.
Do you cram each 5 into one little section, have a break between each one, or do you space them all out equally?
I think before we talked about this and we were more than likely it's going to be home series break, then tournament break. So then it's every 5 weeks.
Yeah.
There's a home series, then there's a break after the tournament.
Yeah.
And then you go back into home series.
Yeah. Cause if they're spaced out like that and they're a Thursday to Sunday, each home series
with maybe an extra week or 2 in there at some points.
There's only 2 to 3 games per day.
That would get you to the end of July.
Yeah. So yeah, that could be it. And then, but nevertheless, I'm excited. It's finally
Yes.
here.
Yes.
February.
So, Rex, any other final thoughts there?
No, I mean, I'm thinking the same thing. I think it's going to be like the 3 home series, and then like I think it's going to be pretty rapid. I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of break. I kind of hope there is between like champs and then like the majors, or stage 5 or whatever it's called. I hope there's like some of a break there, because I like the idea of teams being able to like prepare really well for champs. So that's my hope with that one at least. But as long as we can have a lot like home series, major, home series, like no breaks during that whole 5 stages would be my ideal. If there's like a week-long break between one of the minors and then one of the majors, I'm okay with that. But that's as far as I'd want that to go,
Yeah, the biggest question is when are they gonna slide the Elite Series into the schedule? Because I think they're gonna have their own broadcasting in some way, from what we've all heard. So that's the question: is like, okay, so they're gonna be like a 2-week break where then they play the Elite Series, or are they playing the Elite Series all the way through these home series and they broadcast only some of it, or how's that gonna play out? So that's kind of the question mark.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. Because you couldn't imagine they could do the Elite Series on like the weekdays or something, right?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Maybe they could, but I think the more likely option is that they like cram it in like a 2-week span in between home series or stages, between the stages.
Yeah.
So like you have home series, and then either straight into a tournament, or break, then tournament, then 2-week break where the Elite Series is, and then tournament, and then home series, and then you continue again. So
which
I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, so I think that's kind of like where we're at with the format right now. Obviously very exciting. We cannot wait to talk more about that when we get a little bit more information on it.
Please.
Moving forward. So, let's talk a little bit. I guess we can go through the other like small pieces of news that we have to talk about. Formal and Dashy are finally in Texas, so OpTic Chicago is finally rocking and rolling.
It's cool.
And again, we know now that like the majority of the teams are fully in Dallas.
Pretty much.
I think Zuma mentioned it on the eavesdrop that
Toronto's
LAG's not, Toronto's not, Scraps is in Mexico.
Randomly.
What?
And then I think Ellie's in Canada still, maybe.
Yeah, Ellie's still not there.
Hydra's
gone.
Stuck in France.
And Florida isn't there.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So, what is that? 8 of the 12 teams are there.
Pretty much, yeah.
Which is pretty crazy. But the majority of the 8 of those 8 teams are there. So, pretty crazy that it's like
that's insane.
We got like a set half bubble. And so, shout out for Hex to get all these people on the eavesdrop.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, no free shout outs.
No free shout outs. I have to say that.
What am I said the word oh my word. Embarrassing. But yeah, that's pretty lit. So, I mean, I definitely want to watch more of these OpTic scrims now that they're actually both there and see how they play. They've been struggling on Raid. Like I watched them a few times. I just did that video comparing Raid and BO2 to Cold War now, and like they were getting bodied on Raid. I was going back watching their scrims, watching all their Raid hardpoint matches, and I'm like, yikes.
Dashy and Envoy, man. The young guns.
But speaking of Raid, we finally got the update officially for Raid hopping in for Control, Hardpoint, and S&D officially. So Moscow was removed from Control, which again was basically inevitable.
Yes.
I mean, it didn't play well. It was too slow. It was too hard to break. It was impossible on offense. Good move.
Yes.
And Cartel was removed from Hardpoint, which we all knew was coming. I mean, they haven't played it since the beginning of the game.
No one was playing the Cartel.
And then Crossroads was removed from S&D, which again in 4v4 I think makes sense. It plays pretty good for 2v2s and stuff, but the map's so small.
It is very tiny.
It's tough to play. So overall, thoughts on that? I mean, I'm excited to see it.
I'm excited that they actually I'm excited because this also means that they're not scared to put future renditions of maps in. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited for more to come. I do hope they do maybe remaster one more map, but then also, more original maps that actually work for competitive would be awesome too. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I haven't seen a lot of how Raid Control plays out. I don't know if either of you guys have. Does it play at least better than Moscow, I assume?
I mean, I think it's the best Control map.
Really? Everything's breakable.
I mean, that's not a hard feat.
No, it's not right now.
No.
Yeah.
Okay,
So that's good,
well,
though.
that's good to hear. Well, then
Yeah.
I think
I
that's
mean-
awesome. Like, I'm super pumped to see some raid S&D again, some raid Hardpoint, all of it.
Just a great
That's
map.
like saying you have two functional eyes. You're like, I can see. Oh wow, really cool.
I don't know.
It's
I'm
just-
confused.
Raid is so obviously the best control map. That's what I'm trying to
Matrox
say.
were like, yeah, totally, definitely. That makes perfect sense.
2 eyes looking at something? Of course. What's he talking about?
My
Why is this
windshield.
analogy in here?
I mean, I think overall Raid is the best map, and it's not even close.
Yeah, well,
I
probably.
don't think it's just my bias saying that. I'm
I think
pretty
it's
sure
pretty-
it
it's just
actually is the
actual.
best map.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
they
know.
just the maps just did not seem to be just made for competitive in any way. I don't know.
They don't really make that
Like-
much sense in pubs either.
Like Garrison, kind of is. It's like a 2-lane map, not really 3.
It's like a 2.5
It's like
lane
a 2.5
map.
lane map. I'm just not a fan of Checkmate at all.
I mean, Checkmate. Checkmate control is so toxic.
Yeah.
You just play for top playing
Yeah.
control,
Yeah.
and then whoever has top playing control just
Yeah.
bodies the other team
Yeah.
with Krieg's top plane. And so it's like it just becomes like an absolute Krieg fest on Checkmate.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It was definitely an unfortunate launch map pool,
To say the least.
to say the least.
To say the least.
So
Again, I think everyone's hyped. I mean, everyone wants, Stronghold to be, or not Stronghold, to,
raid.
no.
Oh
My
okay.
word. BO2 map. Anyway,
I'm sorry. Okay. So,
no, the other
standoff.
standoff.
Oh,
Thank you.
standoff.
Holy moly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Everybody wants standoff back.
Oh, okay.
yes.
I was like, standoff.
And so, I mean,
Yeah.
that only makes sense. I bet they bring it back eventually, but like,
Probably.
will they have the balls to add it into competitive? I don't know. Maybe, hopefully.
I hope so.
That will be interesting. This is the first year where I think it's like legitimately possible, considering DLC is free, everything else, that
Yeah.
we could actually see maps getting added into competitive rotation in the middle of the year.
Mhm.
Since, I mean, Valkyrie in World War II,
Mhm.
and then back in AW, where they
was
added
there
in quite a
too.
few DLC
Yeah,
maps.
They did.
So I think it could actually happen this year. So let's talk about some of the substitute stuff
Yes.
that's actually happened this week. There's some pretty fun ones. So the two big ones this week, which is pretty exciting, and you kind of already
I kind of
You've
predicted
already
it.
kinda predicted
Kinda
this.
did.
is that Neptune signed to Florida. The Mutineers signed to Neptune, which is so on brand.
That's amazing.
It's such a good on brand
It
signing.
is.
The name and
Frosty.
and like you're paired with Frosty and just it only made replacing Frosty really is
Yeah,
like the
really.
the heir to Frosty.
Yeah.
But it's just pretty crazy. So thoughts on Neptune signing with Florida?
I mean, I think this is a fantastic. Again, with these guys,
It makes so much
it
sense.
makes so much sense.
It does.
With Slack on the team.
It
Slack
makes-
is there.
Slacked is there. I think he can replace either Slacked or Havoc, depending on if either of those people are not performing. And then, of course, unless I'm an idiot, Ogre 2 is like the Florida guy.
What did you just say?
You're right.
Ogre 2.
You're correct. Yeah.
I've never heard of Ogre 2, the former Halo Pro.
He's the GM,
God Halo Pro.
isn't he?
Totally, yeah.
Yeah. He's the GM,
He's the
which
GM.
makes sense why he's picking up all the Halo guys. But these guys that are coming from different games are low risk, very high reward picks because you
Yeah.
get them at very cheap, but you know that they're capable of so much. So
And we've already seen the potential from Neptune. I mean,
Yeah,
he's played
Neptune-
well at
Yeah.
this point
Mhm.
and without too much guidance. And his best performance was playing with a veteran like Parasite, teaching him the ropes. And so
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how he plays with Florida. Rex?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about this pickup. Like Sam said, like Neptune, it can be that like young gun guy again, like we saw worked last year with Awakening Mac. We can see him again this year, possibly being able to sub in and just start dominating in the pro scene, like we've seen Shotzi do, like we saw Frosty do for a little bit there.
Yeah, baby.
So yeah, I really hope he gets some starting playing time, to be honest, just so we can see.
That would fulfill
that would
your destiny.
My destiny. I'll be so happy.
But I think honestly, that was a steal for a substitute spot for Florida.
Yes.
I think it's a great pickup to have. I'm a big fan of picking up substitutes at like, it's almost like, yeah, you're investing, you're taking a risk on them. But like with Neptune, it's just like the best investment like / risk you can make with a sub.
Yeah, because again, like these aren't just like random AMs; they are like proven professionals in a different game, mind you. But
the upside of their gaming,
Yeah.
their gaming ability.
the knowledge is there, and the hand-eye
Yeah.
coordination is there. So it's like, come on,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, other signing here, which was really very, very interesting, kind of weird, is that, PROLUTE joined the Subliners.
Did not
Subliners Academy.
The Academy, yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And, a little bit surprising. I think we weren't exactly sure that the Subliners were going to sign Academy teams.
Yeah.
Hadn't really hadn't heard that yet. But shout out PROLUTE for making it happen
cool.
and getting the signing. He's a guy who's shown a lot of promise the past few years in the competitive scene. So it makes sense that he's getting paid to play some COD. And overall, just quality, I think, as a whole. So,
do you think you ever wondered why nobody grabs that WestR team for their academy team? Like, what's going on there? Is WestR, they're not being represented by anybody, right?
No,
it's weird. They're building their own brand. It's like you'd think they would. Like, they must be turning down deals.
I mean,
I think so.
They gotta be. But I mean, yeah.
But like, which like kind of makes sense though. Like, just like think about like if you've won the last 3 Challengers Cups,
right?
And these orgs are coming in with these low ball offers, it's much better just to be not be represented than to like be like signed into these like terrible offers who have like no idea of your potential. So I don't know what the what their goal is or like what team is willing to just pick them up. Like you said, Rex, like just a full on academy team, pick them up. Maybe OpTic should do that. Just like
I'm surprised they haven't, honestly.
I don't know, but
there might be
they deserve a team.
Yeah, I mean, there might be some sort of like weird contract issue or something. Like if
could be possible.
Like so now that they're on the Subliners Academy team, like maybe it's just gonna be that much harder to get on another pro team if another pro team's looking. So maybe that's why they don't do it. Because like,
I think that's what it is.
I mean, I was saying
like if there's going to be an expansion team,
so yeah, I guess this Subliners Academy team is now Diamond Con and
Diamond Con and PROLUTE. So that's the thing is that they played together in the most recent tournament, which only makes sense, and they placed pretty well. I think top 4, if I remember right. If I can pull that up pretty quick here,
I can pull it up here.
They got top 4. Yeah, so I mean, with them it was Diamond Con, Spart, Saints, and PROLUTE with that team. And they picked up PROLUTE as another guy on the academy team. So I'll be interested to see if they end up signing a full roster or if they just stick with those 2 for now and let that ride out. I mean, again, it's a weird situation because it's like we thought they were going to sign ASIM, but he's not signed yet.
He'll get signed. Like, I would be so shocked if ASIM's not their sub. I'll be shocked.
Yeah, it's just really weird. It's just really weird because like you can, I don't know. I think it'll probably happen, but I'm not like sold it will yet. So it's definitely interesting for sure. So other news, Mr. X, the legend himself, the ex-coach of Complexity back in the day.
Oh yeah.
He has joined Activision Blizzard as the senior manager of product and content, working both with the Overwatch and COD League.
That's cool.
So the Overwatch League and the COD League. So, I mean, that's cool to see him, established.
Oh yeah.
Signing with the CW or the CDL and the OWL in that way. And I don't think it's ever a bad thing to have a guy like him hanging around in the offices.
No, he's been in the COD scene forever. So I mean, like I think he gets it. He'll be a great add-on to that team, and it'd be cool to see what he can do.
Yeah.
So,
right. Yeah. He knows what the trenches of esports are, so he's a good fit, I think.
Almost forgot about him. Like,
and we got a guy in there with Activision and Blizzard that like actually knows what's going on over here, and actually cares. So
so the more that go on both sides of the fence is definitely like a positive in that way. So I think we can talk about some Challenger stuff here. So obviously the next Challengers Cup was over the weekend. It was a big one. WestR making their plays, 3-peating. And we saw the whole tweet. And again, Paul X, Zaptius, Venom, Gravity, they've been on fire. Just absolutely dominating.
Insane.
And it's been impressive. It's been impressive. Their dominance in the M scene. Of course, everyone's had the excuses of like, oh, they're a West Coast host. Blah, 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 blah. But like at some point, you got to be like, it ain't the connection stopping these guys from winning. It's the fact that they're really, really good and understand this game.
Well, they're just like dominating teams too. Like to that point, like they're just crushing teams, like 3-1, 3-0, like on and on and on.
Yeah. It's really unfair. I mean, at the end of the day, like, they're just playing really, really good COD. And at the end, and like, I don't really see it ending at this point. This feels like it's what happened last year with Singularity, then with Team War. Like, they went on huge runs.
Yeah, like these teams that find success early and stick to their, squad, I think they're going to be extremely consistent, if not winning every single thing, at least being top 4 every single time, So
right.
I really do hope some pro teams do see these guys, and I don't know if I want them to like pick them off one by one or just like sign them all. Like, it'd be so cool to be able to sign them all at once as an academy team, but I don't know. These guys deserve a shot, so it'd be cool.
Yeah, it's just so weird. I mean, again, like to your point, Rex, I could see them just waiting it out, and they just like, all right, we're gonna be a team of 4 next year. It's 4v4 heading into COD 2021.
Expansion teams,
whatever sledgehammer game it's going to be, AW2, COD World War 3, whatever it is. I mean, and they're like, all right, now that we know it's going to be 4v4, unlike last year where it was going to go from 5v5 to 4v4, like it didn't really work. We're just going to stick together no matter what, and then try to get signed as a full squad. I could see it.
I could see it happening too.
And they're just going to turn down every single offer they get to make sure that there's no contract issues, and then get signed by an expansion team next year, if there is one. But again, that's a risk on their side.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I don't know. I mean, what do you think it takes to stop them? Is it a meta shift? Is it teams just learning the game, finally catching up? What is it that could stop these guys at this point? Because they seem like such a balanced team that knows how to push the pace. They play aggressive. They play for map control so well inside Respawn, and they are just really impressive.
I feel like it's going to be teams catching up to them more so. And if like teams stick together, I think longer than we typically see with AM teams, like maybe that can happen. But I think it's just going to be a learning thing. Maybe we'll see a drop, halfway through the regular season where they're like, the games are getting way closer now than they are.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Maybe they really just got the juice and they can just take it all the way for the whole, and just dominate the whole scene. We'll see.
Yeah, it is interesting because it's like, now you're heading into the potential of the Elite Series, which we don't exactly know when it's going to be yet, which is so dumb that we're literally multiple cups into this point, and we still don't know when the thing is that these guys are actually playing for is happening. And so realistically, it could potentially be within as soon as 3 weeks or a month. And so who really knows at this point? I mean, I'm excited to see what it looks like, and they probably already clinched their spot in the Elite Series. I would imagine, even if they tank like top 64 the next few events, it's hard to imagine they would lose their spot pro points wise after winning 3 of them. But yeah, it definitely is impressive.
No, for sure. Yeah, I think people might catch up, but to do that, they're gonna need to stick together. You can't just keep doing this thing where you're dropping 3 players at a time and then trying to acquire more.
No.
But yeah, they figured the game out early. They're a squad. They're all very talented, and they obviously communicate well together. It's gonna be hard to catch up to them. So
yeah, I do. I'm really big fan of this 2K rebrand to the cups.
Cups now.
That was a good call.
That's cool.
It's much more professional than calling them just 2Ks.
2Ks, yeah.
And it sounds way more cool. Like cooler. You're like, I'm a 3-time cup champion.
Easier to follow too.
People it's better, like easier for people to understand.
Cup 1,
I think.
Cup 2, Cup 3. Yeah,
I agree. But yeah, there was they played Phantom, Sib, Jimbo, and Rex in the finals, and WestR just took him to the shed for the most part. They had a chance though. The UT crew they were winning in the Hardpoint and in the control, and like they were really close to resetting the bracket and forcing a second best of 5, but it didn't work out. Mochilla finished top 3.
That's pretty crazy.
Shout out Mochilla.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cool to see him still around.
Yeah, so in the European scene real quick, again, the Obtained Esports team, which was, interestingly enough, that was the Harry, Hixie, Callum, and the BB Connor team that came out on top, which was really interesting to see.
It's interesting because I think that team formed because of the
scouting series.
Scouting series, yeah.
So it's like, what it actually worked for those guys.
Maybe it worked. Yeah. Maybe it worked. Oh.
Yeah, and like it was a whole different squad of people kind of like near the top, way different than normal. And some of these teams were made because of the scouting series in the European side. So maybe a toss-up of some of these talents and some guys finding some rhythm here in Black Ops Cold.
That's pretty cool. Shout out Nubsy, who drafted him.
Yeah. I mean, like it didn't, again, like in the NA scene, it didn't seem like the scouting series did much.
Too much. No.
The same guys are playing with the same guys, but in the European scene, it's made a few changes, which is pretty cool. And then in the APAC scene, big upsets here, man.
Yeah.
Big upsets here.
First time in a long time.
Renegades finished fourth with Chief Esports Club, which was a Swifty, Crimza, Setsi, and Zapa squad coming in first. And think about how long it's been since the Renegades weren't dominating the cups or the 2Ks or whatever it was. You go back and look at their page on Gamepedia, and it's just ones. Just ones. And pretty crazy, man. So who knows? Maybe there's a changing of the guard in the APAC.
Maybe so.
But
it had to have just been a bad day. It's the only thing I can tell. It could have been just a bad day.
Well, there was the big cheating stuff in the NA side of things where guys were getting knocked out, and there was like a whole thing on Saturday of guys accusing like the top 64 what was his name of cheating anyway, and so like I don't know. There's still some weird stuff going on with the cheating inside the AM scene.
So dumb,
and it really sucks.
It's so dumb.
Yeah, and like it could legitimately hurt COD in the long term if we don't get some anti-cheat here soon.
How do you not have an anti-cheat for this game?
Soon. And very fun. Cups are now best of 3s until top 64, by the way.
Which is interesting.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the GA drama. There was a whole lot going on again this week. Dude, every single week. Literally every week. There is just a whole new set of conversations around GAs. And this time, it was kind of SlasheR leading the charge on the GAs, going on a little bit of a rant because of some Reddit posts about pros being whiny and not complaining. And also, based off Awakening and Crim, off that whole clip about Awakening, talking about how, the old slow ARs want to change the game. Typical. And basically, SlasheR was just going off. Thoughts on the whole SlasheR situation?
Yeah, so it seems like SlasheR just wanted to get out in the air because it was pretty much the public opinion was the ARs were controlling the GA discussion, selfishly controlling the GAs. However, SlasheR pretty much multiple times said this is a league decision. It's 80% or 80+% of the vote that needs to go through for the GAs to take effect, which means everyone has to vote. So it can't just be the 12 main ARs that are voting on this. Like, it's every team. And so I think he was just sick of hearing, him being blamed for these GAs when literally everyone's voting. And so
his direct quote was in reply to Awakening's clip, which that was, again, like he said, Awakening was just like the old slow ARs are trying to change the game for themselves. And then SlasheR tweeted, "This is the problem right here. We have incompetent morons spewing BS on stream/Twitter, consistently throwing blame on people who are not bringing stuff up." And then he's like, "Well, I guess Zuma is an old slow AR." And it was like, then he posted a clip of the rep chat, which is the chat where each team has one player who kind of communicates the team's wants and wishes for GAs or rules or whatever it is to the rest of the league. And Zuma was talking about how, Tommy wants the 74U gone, blah, 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 blah. But then Tommy came out and said, like, not really. I was kind of just trolling.
Just trolling. Yeah.
But, then Doug Leby came out and said, "This is not the problem. His point is the clip is moronic, which players got credit/blame for the GA, have nothing to do with the GA's usefulness. You proving who said what's pointless. Would banning the 74U be better if a different player brought it up? There's just no point in even talking about it." And then SlasheR said, "No, this is the problem. A pro player is spewing nonsense on stream, and you and others just believe the 74U might be getting banned because one guy says so and throw blame on the people even though we weren't even trying to get it banned, blah, blah, blah. It's not getting banned, and the same narrative gets spread blaming us," or he says certain people, but he's talking about us, who have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
going off.
I think he was very angry.
Take on this. I feel like there's actually possibly a smaller number of players who actually care about GAing. Then there are the other players, like they want GAs, but they really don't want to take time out of their day to think about it or whatever. Like, okay, just let these guys do it. It doesn't really, whatever they do, I'm still going to be as good as I am.
I'll just go with it.
And so these players who like try to really think it through, like SlasheR, Clay, accuracy, those players are the ones who are like really into doing the whole GA thing. Like, in a way, they're controlling it, but they're controlling it because the other people don't really care to have any. They don't really care what happens.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? I really just don't like this gun. Why don't we just GA it? And then, you know, they're the ones who kind of like take it more seriously than somebody else does. That's my idea. That's what I think is happening. And why people say the ARs
for the most part.
But it's really like they're trying not to, but no one else is really participating in this. So like they just kind of end up doing it in a way. That's what I think, at least, about it.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah, like, yeah, and but there then too is like, if you're not willing to like do any research, then you shouldn't be complaining about what happens if you're just going with the flow. Like,
true.
You can't blame these guys for doing the research.
Which is kind of what SlasheR's saying.
Exactly. Like, that's just how it is. And again, once again, if like your vote should matter, so if you don't like it, try to, you know, vote on what you think, but don't be complaining and blaming it on like 4 people when again it should be an 80% plus.
Yeah, and Envoy talked about it a little bit. Envoy and on the podcast talked about it, and then Zuma talked about on the eavesdrop. No free shoutouts.
No free shoutouts.
No free shoutouts. But yeah, Envoy basically was like, yeah, I think for the most part the GAs make sense this year. Like, you know, we're trying to go in the right direction, and like the game isn't necessarily always supporting competitive COD, so we got to take, you know, we got to do some things ourselves, blah, blah. Yeah. And then Zuma talked about the potential of a Gung-Ho GA, which, I mean, I always thought just was going to happen anyway, but it never ended up happening off the rip.
No.
And he was talking about how Shotzi's been using it, and he's nasty, and blah, 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 blah. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. It's like if teams are weaponizing GAs, which the only time I ever felt like that was actually the case was the AUG situation last year when FaZe used it like twice, and then people were like
one
pissed.
Scrim.
Yeah.
map.
So besides that, I mean, I really haven't had too much problem with the GAs. The whole barrel thing, and like they said that the pros were testing the idea of no barrels, and then they were testing the idea of maybe GAing the AK-47. It was just like a conversation that got thrown out there, or the AK-74U. I mean,
for you,
they just got kind of thrown out there. So I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about it, but. It's just tough. I feel like we're at like a point where it's like I can deal with it for now, but if it gets more significant than this, it gets to a point where it's like, man, the CDL and the COD League and Activision and Treyarch have to step in and like make the changes that are necessary at some point.
Right.
So,
well, I feel like once like the players who are known, like let's say like Simp comes out and like a BZ, and like these players who are known to be like S tier types of players, and they start being more serious about the GAs, I guess, is when we'll kind of like have more understanding what's going on. Because it's true, it feels like the people who are really serious about the GAs are the AR players. But it's not their fault that they're the only ones that are serious. It's because no one else is as serious as them about it. So things just happen how they happen in that way. But once like big players like that who are really, really good say something, then it's like, well, they're super good, so they might probably know what's going on here.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with that. So overall, I think we can probably cut that one off there and then head into our like, little first segment here, which is, again, the segment of no segment. It's the segment of a bunch of conversations. So without further ado, let's hit this random drop. This one.
Boom.
Kaboom.
There you go. Some kaboom action for this random conversation. So first thing off is that I want to talk about a little bit was the 4v4 versus 5v5 debate. Now that we've had a little bit more time back on 4v4. Envoy on the CODcast, again, this was a conversation that got started. No free shoutouts. I mean, you know, we talked a lot about this thing called the CODcast today. I don't know why, but he brought up the idea of 4v4 actually taking less skill than 5v5 and that he actually believes that.
Which I'm really happy he came out and said
Which
that.
is a hot take.
It is a
It's
hot take because, but like, let's be honest, like the COD narrative is really driven by like, what do we hear a pro say?
The
and
old
everyone else
slow
just
main
kinda-
ARs.
Everyone turns into sheep and jumps on that whole bandwagon, you know? So
Right.
like, I'm really glad we have some like, you know,
Dissenting opinions.
yeah,
Some free
dissenting opinions
thinkers.
from well-respected people about this topic. And so Envoy being more new age and kind of, I guess, coming up in 5v5, it gets this different point of view. So who knows? Maybe if COD started out 5v5, then all of a sudden went to 4v4, all the old guard would be like, well, we should go back to 5v5. Why would we ever, 4v4 or whatever? But I'm just glad to hear dissenting takes and dissenting opinions.
No, yeah, I agree. Like, we need some like perspectives on both sides of, again, like you said, people who are respected in the community, like Envoy, which is funny. He started out as a keyboarder, but he became respected in the community. Big U-turn. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting discussion, because you're right. Like 85% of what you hear is 4v4 is way better for Call of Duty. It should never have gone to 5v5. All this stuff. So I think it's cool to see someone who's like, I think it took more skill to play 5v5. So
I mean, I was always kind of on the fence about it, and like I never took a strong stance on either side, because I do see the pros and cons to it, and like they went back and forth in the podcast a little bit, but like Envoy talked about how much more important playing together with your team is, and that you can't always solo chow as much because
if you win your one-on-one, then like,
or you had to play with your teammates, because otherwise you're going to get flooded out.
Yeah.
And the communication was so much more crucial because there were so many more people on the map. You had to communicate that so much more effectively, and the reaction time had to be way higher, and so your movement and your reaction times had to be about as good as they could get to be really, really good. But then on the other side, again, then when you go down to 4v4, it's just other skills that become slightly more important. So really it's a give and take. In my opinion, it becomes kind of a wash either way, and I'm not sure either is really significantly more difficult than the other. Yeah. It might just be that it's just somewhat different. It's just different, but not necessarily more difficult.
Yeah, no, I feel like we talked about this when it was like announced going back to 4v4. I don't know if anyone here had a strong opinion on it.
Yeah, and I don't think any of us did.
I just like, I don't know. I never minded 5v5.
S&D was a little annoying.
S&D seemed, a little hectic at times.
But that was more of like a BO4 thing because of like the shoulder peeking and the stimming and all of the abilities.
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, like it's a give and take with each side. I never had a strong opinion. I don't know. I feel like it could go either way. You get more players in the league.
Right. And as a casual viewer, I can see the advantage of 4v4 where it slows things down. It's a little bit more easy to follow.
Yeah.
I agree.
And so I from a casual viewing perspective, I think 4v4 is better. From like a how fun is it to play perspective, I think 5v5 might be more fun to play.
I honestly agree with that too, to be honest. But I will say I think 4v4 S&D is just going to be more interesting than 5v5 S&D ever was.
Yeah.
Maybe.
From
I mean, again,
like watching, spectating perspective, that's how I feel about. I feel like 4v4 S&Ds were just so much better, especially because you could see those 1v4s or in those 1v3s happen where like a 1v5 never is going to happen, like ever. But a 1v4, like the possibility is always there, So I really like that part of it, and I think it's going to be more visually fun.
For sure. I think I agree with that. So that was segment 1 of our debates.
Yeah.
Segment 2, which we're going to talk more about in the future here, is so there was, again, the whole OpTic Chicago ranked COD players, which was a little bit of a side drama that happened the past few days here.
Great.
I
loved it.
I mean, I'm not going to call them out for taking my video ideas here, but
they definitely stole your documents.
I mean, I'm not calling anyone out here. But it's kind of, it's There you know?
There you go.
Yeah, you know. But it was actually a really fun video. At the end of the day, I mean, how do you not click on this? It's the first time we've ever seen any pros do something like this.
And they had
knew
to
what
call
they
the
were
people
doing.
out, and I loved it.
And Hex forced them to like actually talk. So
They knew what they
shout
were
out
doing.
Hex
Yeah.
for doing that.
Yeah, that was
And
bold.
so basically, it was weird that they only chose like totally random people.
certain people. Yeah.
Definitely a little weird.
Well, they said they're going to do another video like the next week or whatever, and it's going to have formal instead of scump and, you know, totally different players. So I think that
right.
I kind of think they pick people who could take it.
They did.
Honestly,
They definitely
like,
did.
There's no one that was going to like really complain
Like
except
methods and Clay and
accuracy and
Right.
whatever.
They put spicy ones like Crim, but like they're not going to disrespect Crim, you know. So it's like that's the biggest thing.
No.
So at the end of the day, it was like it could have been spicier, but they did give some like legit takes.
Formal was
So
he woke up.
I think me and Rex might be doing a little rankings video here this week, and might like do our own rankings of those exact same people.
Yeah.
And
what did OpTic actually think about these players?
Yeah. Do something like those lines. I think that could be fun. We were gonna do that as like a full segment for this podcast. We thought it might like take a little bit too long and be a little dry, so we thought we'd make it its own video. So that was a really fun one. I mean, overall, I think it was just funny. Formal was firing on all cylinders.
He woke up ready to go, man.
He was ready.
he was ready.
He's like, no, lower. He's like, are you sure you want to put them? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. You know,
what a guy. What a
real
guy.
quality stuff.
Yeah.
So that was conversation number 2. All right. Conversation number 3 that I wanted to have was getting a look at some of these hashtags of the teams and talking about your favorite ones.
Yeah, pretty cool.
We got the full list of all of some of the current ones, some new ones for teams from CDL Intel of all of the team hashtags. And again, like I said, some of them were new, some of them weren't, and come through. So what are your favorite ones? And are they the same ones from last year? Are there some new ones? Where are you at with some of these hashtags?
Hashtag
I'll tell
on
you-
guard.
On guard.
On guard.
Yes. Shout out Paris.
Shout out Paris. Honestly, I feel like Fear the Deep probably my favorite one.
But then they also have the most cheesiest one with Let's Get Crackin'.
Oh,
wow.
Man, that's bad.
That was pretty bad. So
That's really bad.
Then
At
they
least
have
it's
the
not
best and the
lazy.
worst.
No, the other ones were kind of
True.
lazy. Let's be honest.
LAG is LAG.
LA Thieves is LA Thieves.
LA Thieves.
Hey, they also have lights out, all right?
Do they?
They do have lights out.
That's good.
But yeah, obviously Green Wall is like the Green Wall brick by brick.
It's pretty cool.
I mean, I think Defend the
Standard.
Throne is one of the coolest
I was gonna
ones.
say,
I agree.
Build an Empire and Defend the Throne are like pretty epic.
Those are
I like
epic
that a
for
lot.
sure. I like those a lot. Those are probably my favorite
Yeah.
ones, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
On guard.
On guard.
I mean, so Ultra is so bad.
So
bad.
Ultra.
Well, they have another one that for some reason is not on here. Oh, Strength in the North.
Strength in the North.
See,
also
I'm honestly,
one.
I prefer that.
I think I would too.
Definitely. Yeah.
I think Strength in the North is better. It's hard to hashtag that out.
Why
you know?
is the other rocker one play as one?
That seems kind of
That
strange to
doesn't
me.
really make any sense.
Yeah,
No.
I don't understand that one so much either. But honestly, weirdly enough, Rocker's hashtag, just hashtag Rocker, looks pretty cool in its own way. Just the way it looks, I don't know. I kind of like
Just
it.
rocker. Yeah.
It's pretty like simple, easy, but it still looks pretty nice.
Yeah, I
Just
can
the
get
name.
behind that for sure.
Roker.
NYSL, lazy.
Lazy.
Come on,
lazy.
Yeah.
New York. Come on, man. Give me something.
It's tough, man. But yeah, very fun. There's our next topic.
Yeah.
See, the guys, this is what I was talking about. This segment is really fire.
It is super fire.
Oh, hashtag fire.
That should be Paris's other one.
Yeah.
It's just that is
Fire.
the fire emoji.
I agree. The next thing was
hashtag fire emoji. That should be it, dude. Oh, Paris, come on.
Can you hashtag emojis?
I don't know,
Maybe.
but
I
they
don't
should.
know. You could even just spell it out too, like fire
Hashtag
emoji.
fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. That
Yeah,
freaking
pretty funny.
hilarious. Let me see if I can. Let's see if we can do this.
Do it.
Nope, you can't.
Shoot.
It's a shame.
Oh well.
But next piece of news was the Heretics. So the Heretics, you know, they've been in Call of Duty for a while.
Yeah.
In and out of COD.
This is wild.
They've had the whole roster with like methods and all of those guys in the past, and really good teams in past CODs with Heretics, but obviously they got out of it. They didn't get a franchise spot. But yesterday, the Gref G, how do you even say it? The Gref G?
I
say Gref G.
I didn't even know
the owner
what was,
of Paris Legion.
Yeah, I didn't even know.
The owner of Heretics.
Heretics.
I wish it was Paris Legion. That'd
I
be
have
sick.
no idea what was going on when I saw this. I'm like, why does he have 2 million viewers?
So yeah, the owner of Heretics had 2.4 million viewers.
What in the world?
2.4 million. What in the? He broke every Twitch record there is, and it was just like all like Hispanic and like Latino.
Crazy.
And Spanish people, all Spanish speaking people, like uniting as one and like uplifting the Greg or the Gref G. Please, Spanish speaking people, please help me.
It was amazing though.
Please help me.
Like, because he got a skin in Fortnite.
It's so crazy.
I was just so.
Presentación oficial de mi skin de Fortnite.
Yeah.
Presenting my official skin in Fortnite.
So he got a skin and he got 2.4 million people watching him. Like that's incredible.
It's insane. So that was crazy. I mean, like the fact that like they can pull that type of viewership is insane. And I never thought that ever be a possibility. So I don't know. One day, maybe Heretics joins the CDL. They had a tweet about this a while back that they were going to be trying to do it.
Yeah.
So maybe so. And I didn't realize there was so much like Spanish and Hispanic and Latino like forced to have 2.4 million viewers.
Awesome.
Which is just insane. Yeah. So shout out all y'all out there.
They unify.
Yeah, literally. So the last conversation I want to have in this little segment before we get into our trade talk, which is going to be a fun one, is the COD hype cycle, which I tweeted about this last night. And shout out Brett Diamond, kind of the COO of Minnesota Rocker. He replied and kind of talked about it a little bit. And I was just like, man, I was thinking about this because I'm like, the NFL season's almost over. We're in the playoffs. And I'm like, dude, I mean, I'm a huge NFL fan. And I'm just as hyped after the Super Bowl as I am leading up to the Super Bowl, because after the Super Bowl, that means now I can start listening to my scouting podcast. I can prepare and get prepared for the NFL draft and understand all the prospects. And then once the NFL draft happens, I'm hyped for my dynasty fantasy drafts to pick all the best rookies. And I'm making trades in dynasty for all the best rookie players and making all my offseason drafts. Then you have and then you're preparing for the fantasy drafts all up until training camp in July, and then you've got training camp, and then you've got the preseason in August, and then you've got the start of the NFL season. Every game matters during the regular season. Then you got the trade deadline, and the trade deadline's hype, and then after the trade deadline, you're leading into the playoffs, and then you qualify for the playoffs. All the bad teams are firing their coaches. All the good teams are making the playoffs. The bad teams are firing and hiring new coaches during the playoffs. Then you got the playoffs and you're leading up to the Super Bowl. Rinse and repeat. Like, the hype is real constantly. 24/7.
Wow.
And COD needs to get to that point.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
And so I tweeted that. I kind of tweeted that whole thing, that whole sequence of things. And I didn't even mention free agency. That's in there as well. It's leading up here after the Super Bowl and all that type of stuff. And I was like, COD's like 60% of the way there. And it's Easy Mac on Twitter. Shout out Easy Mac. He was kind of like agreeing with that, and he's just like, yeah, basically roster mania, the real like all the big decisions of roster mania for players last like 4 days. Then there's no draft, and there aren't coaches that are getting hired and fired like that actually like matter to the degree in the NFL. And the draft is really important for the NFL because it counterbalances. The good teams have something to look forward to, and then the bad teams have something to look forward to.
Yeah. And
so even if you're a bad team, the offseason creates that hype for the bad teams because of the NFL draft, free agency. And usually the bad teams have the most salary cap and they can make a lot of offseason moves. And so those are the things that keep fans engaged throughout the offseason that we just currently don't have in Call of Duty. So, I mean, is there anything that you'd like to see in COD?
I mean, I would just like to see a more like open, I guess, draft. Like, I wish we could know more about what's going on with like, we're picking up, this player next, like they do with the draft. Like, go up there and like they're announced, like we're taking this guy, and then the next person goes, and you just keep going like that. I would really like to see something, just have it be more open and visible and more of an event to watch than have it be some underground thing that you have to go scour Reddit for,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then we already know the teams, and then 2 months, 3 months later, it's finally announced, like, we knew this months ago. We've just been sitting here,
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. It's like how deep of a draft can you go though when it's like 4v4 and
There's only 12 teams.
The same 4 people are playing every single time. There's no substitutions.
Right,
really.
there's big differences.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's the thing is that but they're also the reason why the NFL has such a long off season is because they don't have to that you have to take time off for the body to recover.
Yes.
We're like COD. It's weird that our off season is so long. It doesn't make sense. It's stupid. Like the fact that we have an off season from October or from the middle of August to freaking February makes no sense. We should have a long season with a big time mid-season championship. There should be a part 1 and a part 2. Champs is somewhat more important than the massive mid-season championship. And like somehow you work that way and the season is very long. Like this goes from COD launches if it launches in November, first event is within 3 weeks. And then champs is in the end of September. Like this thing should go long time.
Yeah.
I don't understand why we have to shorten it so much. Thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I think like they're like, obviously we're still like in the infancy stage, right? This is our second year. So I'm sure this will all get sorted out. But yeah, no, I think they like it's a short season. They want to make sure what they do correct. So like they don't have a lot of responsibility in terms of keeping a long season, right?
Yeah.
So I think as they start to figure out what they can and can't handle, what they should focus more resources on, they can start to lengthen the season. But no, yeah, you're right. I don't know why it's such a long time to plan.
I think here's an idea that just came to mind. I'm sorry, I just cut you off.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
But here's an idea that just came to mind: is if we have each team is allowed to have their 5 players, 4 players plus 1 sub that are on long-term contracts, but you can't sign anyone else past a 1-year deal. And every year there's a draft for the rest of your team. And so you're actually drafting the amateur players. And so like this would kind of create a want and interest in staying up to date on the amateur scene and the challengers, like the challenger scene as a whole. How that plays out, it would add intrigue to the Elite Series.
Yeah.
And then you're drafting, you have a full-on draft every single year for these guys, and it's the reverse standings of the previous season. So the worst team has the first dibs of the best amateur players that aren't already signed. I could see something like that potentially working out
interesting
in a way like that, where you have your 1 sub player who could have already been one of the best amateur players of the year before that you signed to a longer term deal. Or you just stick with it only as like a challengers thing, which is that kind of already is if you already have your top 5 players signed. But I don't know. I think there needs to be some sort of way to implement a legit draft every single year into the game.
Yeah, it'd be cool. It'd be fun to see that.
Right. I think
the draft is so interesting.
Teams, sometimes they don't even know what they're going to be doing sometimes, and so maybe that's why it makes these drafts hard. But like I wish that would become more set in stones, like know what you're doing before it happens, so we can have these drafts and have these things happen. But like
because like
some
right
teams
now
just won't change at all, like
there's just
Empire, they're not going to do anything.
Right, there's just no inherent reason to actually care about the challenger scene unless you just really like Call of Duty. But like if you linked them directly with every single team forcing them to sign a full academy team, which I think is necessary personally in the long term for the success of the amateur scene and for the success of competitive COD and creating interest and generating interest. Like it only makes sense, I think, at the end of the day. And that would be really, really cool. I think it'd be really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, there needs to be more ways to create intrigue in the off season if we're not going to have COD for 5.5, 6, 7 months of the year. It makes no sense. Like if we're going literally August to freaking February, it's stupid. So I don't know. Any other ideas on how you could create more interest in the off season or, drive free agency, trades, the draft, scouting stuff, amateur scene? Like there just gotta be ways to fill that time. Fantasy COD, like the development of fantasy COD as a whole could be pretty important. you know, and like really creating a bigger market for that and finding better ways to do it in the long term could also be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, having more teams in the league will definitely be crucial to like create more intrigue and drive in the offseason. And then forcing teams to have bigger rosters will also do that because teams are then managing more players. There'll be more signings and trades and offseason acquisitions and things like that could create more news in the offseason that could actually matter.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of think you kind of wonder if they were hoping that all the challengers things, you know, the cups and the scouting series, that was going to be enough for the off season, right? Like,
yeah.
Which but there just isn't enough support on the side of Activision for those things to actually really drive any sort of viewership. Right. I mean, you have Isle Shift and you know Vision and all these guys really doing it themselves, and they have their own production team too. They're getting no support. So if you're wanting the AM scene to kind of fill this void between
they've got to do it.
They've got to do it right. They've got to support. You know, you got to support these casters and the production team, and you know, put bigger prize pools and more broadcasts. So that's the only thing I can think of. Like right now, where we're at is doing a better job of surrounding the challenger side with more support. Yeah. But because you know, as is right now, it's just really hard to call that your off season, you know, filler because it's not even being supported.
Well, what they did with the off season filler thing too was that they had these teams, you know, streaming on YouTube these Warzone events and like stuff like that, or whatever event they wanted to do. And some of them were pretty good. Some of them were not very, like, for sure. Warzone stuff, just like with this thing that they do, like, just is not entertaining to me. I liked it. I think Empire had a good one. I think Mutineers had a good one. We're playing like competitive COD, but even those, like, they don't quite. Those are not quite hitting the nail on the head. I feel like for me, because what they want to do, they want to build these brands. You know, like they want to support the amateur scene, and I think they're trying to find ways to do that through the org, so the orgs themselves can start making money from this. Upgrade these orgs as brands so that these orgs can start making money. Because that's really, I feel like, the problem COD is having, that it's staying static, is that these other orgs, like, you know, Paris, who doesn't help themselves, New York, whoever, you know, Mutineers, they need to find a way to make a profit. We know OpTic, they broke even last year, which is great, obviously, for like a, you know, first year of it, you know, really, really, really good
for sure
compared to everybody else, but it's still breaking even. So it's hard for them to really like throw money at things when their people who are invested in them are not making money from it yet. And I feel like that's their worry right now. And I think it's the worry that's happening with Overwatch League. And how do you solve that problem? And I think they're trying to solve it with these off-season. You know, New York Subliners is streaming this $100,000 Warzone tournament, and then not a lot of people are watching it. And then another team hosts something else, and then not a lot of people are watching that. And what they need people to watch that stuff.
Well, if you extend the seasons and you have more events, you have more big time money making events that draw in viewership. Hopefully, you can sell bigger ad revenue, or deals or sponsorship deals, and get bigger, you know, partnership deals with YouTube or whatever it is. So hopefully down the road, you know, they can break even and make money. But like, it definitely is a tough spot right now for them to be in. I totally get that for sure. So yeah, I think as a whole, we could probably move into our big juicy segment of the day. Which is our trade segment. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's go.
John, one thing I can promise you, even in this market, is that I never ask my clients to judge me on my winners. I ask them to judge me on my losers because I have so few.
Oh, baby. So today's segment, what we're doing, we're going to go through some trade scenarios, some options, some potential players who could go and get traded and potentially help both teams. So that's what we're going to talk about today is trades that could potentially help both teams if they went down, if they happened, and what they would look like if that was the case. It's not necessarily easy to do. We have a handful of situations or segments or situations or teams or options or players or whatever it is that could potentially work out. So we're going to talk about some of those situations, ones that could even be semi-plausible and go through them. So Tim, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. I'll start us off.
Okie dokie.
So yeah, again, this was when you're like viewing all the teams, you know, their entire roster, all of them. You're just trying to pick out, okay, what does this team kind of need? And then what is this team?
Is there a team that could
offer it, but then not lose so much? So yeah, it's very much
one team has to at least break even.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So here's a thought I have: you trade Classic for Bance.
Oh, interesting.
And
Pretty good.
the way I see it going is that Bance teaming with Scraps creates slightly better vibes for the strange conglomeration that Paris seems to be right now.
Right. Yeah.
And then with Classic being back on Toronto, you have Classic playing previously last year with Toronto, where, in my opinion, I think Classic should have never been dropped from Toronto in the first place. And so you already have a proven record with Toronto. And so I think this trade is one that kind of makes sense where both teams aren't really like improving drastically, but it makes more sense when you look at it with like the whole roster.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
For sure. I
that
could
was a
agree to
scenario.
that. I could see Bance even becoming better off of that trade and Classic also being better off that trade as well.
Yeah. That's actually really interesting. It's actually semi-plausible.
It really is.
Honestly. I don't know how plausible it is that teams are even going to make trades.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we haven't really seen it. We've seen basically one trade, and it was Pristini. And it wasn't really even a trade. It was more just an acquisition.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's like we haven't really seen any like player for player type situations yet. But I'm surprised. I mean, eventually we probably will, I would imagine. But
so.
I don't know. Rex, do you have another one in mind, or do you have anything else to say about that one?
This was so difficult to like. It's hard for me to think like what could happen. One person or one team, I guess, that came to mind that I feel like could use some mixing up is LA Gorillas.
Yeah.
Like, there's something obviously I think a lot of us think is there's something there that could happen, but just something's off. I feel like Apathy is a great player, but I feel like if you put maybe somebody else in that team, like I feel like that team is missing another sort of young fire, like not Fire 40, but young, passion.
Not 540.
So I said maybe Apathy and ASIM sort of switch. I'm considering ASIM part of NYSL. So I feel like NYSL could gain from that. And I also feel like Gorillas as well could gain from ASIM's like young and like very passionate and very like upbeat all the time personality. There's potential for that to work out well. And maybe you change ASIM to more of a Slayer sort of role.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I think it's definitely
That's weird.
when you look at LAG. I think people, myself included, are nervous of Apathy's like raw slaying ability.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Not saying he for sure has. He's had his moments for sure. It's just more of like at this time, can he produce those numbers?
Yeah.
And so maybe if you have ASIM be in that role, who knows? He didn't have like the most prolific career or year last year, but that he couldn't play that role.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think about the Apathy on NYSL. You would have
Something in Zuma, Clayster.
Mac, Clayster, Apathy. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm counting
That's
Hydra.
actually really interesting.
They're putting Hydra as the sub for this as well,
Yeah,
because that
yeah.
could happen.
Right. Oh, that's actually really interesting.
I don't know how
You
I
wanna fire
feel
off?
about it for sure, but I feel like it's something. There's something there.
Something there. Yeah, I would definitely rely on ASIM, obviously, really, really popping off.
Being
Like
there's a
he would need
Slayer
to
instead
have
of the OBJ. people know
amazing
him to
year.
be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
yeah.
And it's plus he's younger. He's got that younger vibe. I feel like Vivid could play with that more. Because Vivid is like, he seems kind of like a lost soul on that team.
Yeah.
Like Assault, Silly, Apathy, and then Vivid. It's like everyone else is like, who is Vivid? And Vivid might end up being one of their better players. So I feel like ASIM there could kind of bridge that gap in a way.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I like it. Same doing fire for another one?
Yeah. This one could be, I don't know how well this is going to be received or not, but picture this. Our cities for Clayster.
Oh, wow.
And here's my thinking.
Spicy.
Here's my thinking. FaZe has enough slaying power with Simpin and Busy. To me, I can see our cities not being able to produce as high of a ceiling as he could on that team as is right now. So this allows Clayster to shine with, with his
leadership abilities
with the young guns again. Our cities bringing his gunny to New York.
This is more about how much better maybe New York could get versus like FaZe might be the exact same.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not really saying FaZe is going to be better here. I think FaZe can maintain this because I think Clayster can play the role he needs to play on that team.
Yeah.
RC's brings his fantastic ability,
extra level of slaying power
to New York, and you still have Zuma being that veteran, although RC is obviously a veteran, but Zuma has been there for a while. So maybe you have Zuma kind of taking on that role of more of a leadership. Obviously, RC has a great voice and great leadership abilities.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, in-game leadership as well. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so I feel like that would, like a trade that would pretty much the same with FaZe, but then I think that would elevate New York definitely a little bit higher, because not saying Clayster is bad, but RC definitely has a higher ceiling than Clayster right now.
I can really get behind that, to be honest. Because
that's
so we all talk about like RC's, he's this great leader now and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't know if any of us really know that like for a fact. I think now he's surrounded with Simp, who's like, it's hard to be a leader of Simp. It's Simp of all people. I mean, granted, he did it with Scump, but
I mean, Pokemon's a leader of simps.
There you go. Rex's face.
Anyways, I feel like Clayster could really because FaZe's problem last year was that they didn't have a brain. That was always FaZe's problem, is like they're just kind of brainless. And Clayster is that guy that could really bring that into that team. And then RC's again could bring in that slaying power, and it's going to be like a combined brain of him and Zuma on that team. I could see that working out well.
Yeah. Possible. Plausible, maybe.
In my head, I was trying to work out something between like Major Maniac on Minnesota and like and like Awakening, but I'm not sure if that makes any sense at all for Florida.
Yeah.
It would just make a lot more sense for. I think that could be a really interesting high upside play for Minnesota, but I don't think it would really make enough sense for Florida to work. Because I was looking at yours on the sheet, I was like, you have good ones.
He has really good ones.
Sam got to it before I could get to it. I know, because we were like, let's do this science, and then Sam was like, I already got mine in there. I'm like, what?
I did some thinking.
Sam had some good ones, yeah.
Did some thinking.
But yeah, like that was one that I had like considered that maybe could work. Another one that I was like thinking about was like maybe you could get with Major Maniac. Was like Major Maniac on to Paris for like scraps, and then you have like Priesta flexing for Minnesota, and then you have Major Maniac heading there to like be their S&D guy and like really play with Paris in that way.
Yeah,
which could be pretty interesting, like on a roster basis.
Definitely.
But yeah, so I don't know. Those are two that came to mind that could maybe work, but I don't think it necessarily make both teams better,
right?
Per se,
right?
Yeah.
Rex, do you have another one that comes to mind for you?
I mean,
specifically?
I mean, I guess I was thinking sort of with LA Thieves, and again, I'm looking at New York Subliners again. Maybe like a Kenny Zuma sort of trade-off there.
Oh, that's a fun one.
Like, you have Zuma's always so unpredictable, like the best with timings and everything, and Kenny can more like slay out and is more, I feel like, I don't know, sturdy.
Yeah, Zuma, like, he flies around the map.
Yeah.
He's really fast player. Kenny's a little bit more methodical.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like Subliners could really benefit from having that. And LA Thieves could benefit with someone like Zuma who can do that for them. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I see the potential there with that one. Both teams
Ooh,
doing
that's
better.
a fun one. Yeah. I actually think that could actually work out pretty good.
Yeah.
I was trying to think about like maybe like, is there a way to like swap Dashy for someone on? I was trying to think like a high profile one that could somehow you could make really good teams even better somehow.
I was thinking with OpTic, I'm like, I don't know, like if I touch this, I'm gonna be blasted.
It's a little too spicy.
I'm gonna be
Yeah, it's a little
blasted. There's
spicy.
no way. But
I know. I mean, is there one that you could think of OpTic that could even like possibly make both teams better? Like Dashy, what would you like? I feel like if anything, you're bringing like a very vocal leader to that team.
No, yeah, like
to pair with Envoy to like help bounce off the wall with Envoy. Yeah. Like Dashy's pretty chill and doesn't really talk much big picture stuff in games. So
Priesta?
You know, but does that make Minnesota? That just slows Minnesota down though, because then they have two flexes. Because that's the biggest problem is that Major Maniac, unless you have Major Maniac full time playing SMG, which we haven't seen him do since like what BO3.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the thing. I'm not sure about that one. I mean, Priesta would. I mean, that would be the ideal situation for OpTic. I think is having Priesta would be insane.
In terms of Dashy,
yeah, that would be insane.
That'd be wild.
Like, because you really couldn't like swap Cellium for Dashy, could you?
No,
that wouldn't really make much sense either.
No, Cellium's pretty vital in FaZe, and that. I mean, I don't know.
You know who's a difficult
dude, how about
team
this? Gunless for Dashy.
Nah.
Gunless for Dashy.
Could you imagine, dude?
He's back on that
so
team.
Good, dude.
That'd
be insane.
You know what's a team I've been like trying to think, how would you edit this team is Empire? And really, I don't know what you could change.
They're the perfect team. It's stupid.
There's just
really hard.
There's just nothing that you can do to make that team better. Like hypothetically, right now.
The only thing that comes to mind is Cellium for Hook.
Or Hook.
Nah, man. Like that's the thing. I don't even see that. Hook is too much brain for that team. You know.
Or Illy.
But
like Illy brings so much S&D to that team that they would need that Cellium doesn't always bring.
Illy is the soul of that team. I'm telling you right now. Illy is the heart and soul of that team.
Yes, like no, you're right. That's I honestly don't know if there is one.
I don't think you touch Empire.
I mean, you could say Clay and Crim 6.
I mean, that's the debate of the century right there.
Yeah, that's the debate of the century.
Yeah. I mean, could you replace Crim with someone that would make another team better? You know, like it's hard to imagine.
I mean, Crim would go anywhere else, to be honest.
Crim's the perfect personality for those guys, though. He's so trolly and like
I know,
like that's exactly what like those guys love. Who Shotzi and Illy love like the trolly weirdness that Crim brings,
and they mesh so well.
Yeah,
they really
I agree.
do.
I don't know. I mean, like what other teams haven't really talked about much. I mean, London. Is there something you could do with London?
Yeah,
you know, on that team.
Yeah,
and that could thoroughly make them better.
You could try to get like no,
Dylan
I don't think of like a
Dylan Hydra.
They're like the same player.
I know. Yeah, they're the same player. Maybe you get like because the question is what kind of Dylan are we going to see this year?
Right. There's too many question marks for that team.
Yeah, it's just hard to like know what exactly each player is valued.
Yeah, agreed.
You know?
Agreed.
So I don't know how you trade. Seattle's
tough because it's like they have very defined roles in that team with how they're going to play that with the aggro subs and you have flexing Gunless and Maniar Octane. It's like Octane you can't swap because it's like who's going to make that team better if you swap Octane. And so it's like.
All right, I have a question for you guys. Is there anybody you think you could trade with Silly?
I don't even know, like, what is he gonna play this year?
OBJ.
I mean, he's just gonna flex.
Looney.
Yeah, play like a support.
Maybe Silly and Looney. Honestly,
but does that make
either
Seattle
team
better?
Well, here's the thing: is if Seattle really, because like the problem I think everyone sees with Seattle is that the toxicity of it all. Of Gunless
or the
and
lack
Looney.
of slaying power with an SMGs if Pristini and Looney can't get the job done.
Yeah, I'm not sure Silly would be your guy to kind of change out.
Is there a slaying out SMG who that team needs? That team. Wait, do you have another one, Sam?
Well, my my last one here was actually Kenny for Looney.
Oh, interesting.
Kenny
So-
for Looney. Huh.
My reasoning here is that Looney has played with TJ and SlasheR, obviously, on that Rise team. And however,
Yeah.
the one caveat with this is that TJ would need to go big in the SMG slaying role.
Right.
So that would be a question mark. But then Kenny would add the slaying power on Seattle combined with Persini's entry sub
And the
role.
vibes that Octane loves.
Yeah, so that could definitely be a worthwhile trade for both teams.
But even though, like, on paper right now, Kenny's so much more valuable, right? At least at this point.
Yes.
So yeah, that's an unrealistic one, but on paper, maybe it could potentially make both teams more interesting.
Yeah.
But that's harder to justify for the LA Thieves.
Oh
than
yeah,
for Seattle.
without a doubt. No.
But no, yeah, that's interesting. Any other ones that are coming to mind? I'm trying to think of other teams
I'm
that
thinking Silly and Looney. I'm getting more and more confident with that one.
Silly and
Yeah,
Looney.
more
I think
confident.
I am. I could really see that one doing well, benefiting both teams in a way.
Is there like a
You guys keep thinking of Rise Nation, Rise Nation. Everyone loves Rise Nation. What about United? We got Pristini, Gunless, and Silly back together
United.
from Atlanta. Then you add in
True.
Octane, who is essentially replacing
Arcedes.
which is that's pretty good. You're not losing much with Octane and Arcedes there. So
I do like that. I mean, that's a fun
That's not bad.
debate.
and
Yeah, I
plus
like
you
that.
lose that so then Gunless can be total gunless mode that he wants to be, because I'm sure him and Looney they like each other, whatever, but we'll see how long that lasts, because we know how these players can be.
Yeah.
And then you put Looney on that Gorillas team that gives him some more fire, because who on that everybody on that team there, none of them are passion heads that we know of. And so put Looney there, and you really got something that could happen, I feel like. So that's my favorite one that I think I've done. Silly and Looney.
I like it.
Not bad.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some big ticket items
I know.
here. But
It's hard though. It
Besides
really is
that,
hard.
it's really, really tough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, do you put Formal on? Who would how would Formal make a team better versus like someone else?
Mhm.
It's hard conversations with all of the big time teams like FaZe and OpTic and Empire.
Well, the thing is,
Especially.
OpTic, those players don't play with anybody else other than the people they know, I feel like, for the most part.
Right. Yeah, so it's hard to justify. I don't really see a situation where like Dashy, could he go like Dashy for Cammy? It's a weird one.
Yeah, I don't know about
I don't
that
think it
one.
makes enough sense though. Yeah, I agree. I don't think it would make enough sense.
I feel like Dashy Priest is the best one you could do there.
Yeah, but then that just makes the roles on Minnesota make no sense.
If Dashy's willing to go sub, it should be
or
fine.
Major Maniac, yeah, one of the two, full-time sub.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a little weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Rocker one that you could see multiple options where that could potentially work out.
Mhm.
What if you did SlasheR for attach? I mean slash for accuracy. Just a main AR swap.
I feel like that makes Thieves worse though.
I do too.
Probably.
They live together.
Probably.
God, it's the feud.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I don't know. I would love to see you guys' comments down below about what you guys have in mind for potential trade options, what could potentially look like, or how that could work out. If you have any fun ones, drop them down below, like some comments you think you agree with.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to do it for our podcast today. Like I said, follow the Twitter.
Yes.
Follow the
Do
Twitter.
it.
Best of 3, the number 3, Best of 3 pod on Twitter. We're doing a giveaway. You have to be following myself, SalvationsElite, Bash_B3, and Shady Nero, and the Best of 3 pod on Twitter to be entered in to win CDL merchandise of your choice.
Yes.
So it should be a fun one. It's a pretty good giveaway, I think, for something that could be pretty personable for all of you guys. And I'm definitely very excited for the giveaway, driving you people to Twitter. Yes. And so I think that's it for the video, for the podcast. If you guys enjoyed it, like, comment, subscribe, share the podcast if you guys really enjoyed it. But as always, guys, I'm Josh, SalvationsElite. To my right is Bash_B3, and to our farthest right is Rex, Shady Nero. And as always, this is the Best of 3 Call of Esports podcast. We will see you next time. We out.